Hello. Hard to write in the dark.
While metamorphosing, caterpillars completely liquefy inside their chrysalis. During my private school experience, I morphed to liquid butterfly. I found out I wasn't meant to fly there. I was bound for disintegration. I was a caterpillar of 8 years old when Hurricane Andrew ransacked our home in 1993. After fixing and selling it, my parents decided to move our family from cosmopolitan Miami, Florida, to the suburbs of Tulsa, Oklahoma. They had fond recollections of their Bible school days and the cheaper cost of living. We moved to Tulsa in the same way I moved to Tennessee, naive. I didn't know Tennessee is the birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan until a week before I moved here. And my parents seemed unaware of the lingering animus from Tulsa's 1921 race massacre and how it might affect my life. My dad has 3 associate's degrees and worked as a printer. His time in the Air Force ended with a back injury while repairing a plane, but his drill sergeant must have made a lasting impression the way he would wake us up in the mornings. Rise and shine, maggots! Mom, why does he call us that? That's just your dad's sense of humor. My mom graduated with a degree in applied mathematics from the free-spirited Ivy League in Providence, Rhode Island. She's a great chef. To this day, she has a garden and eats to the seasons. She sews, loves wordplay, and doesn't care for the construct of time. Both my parents are stylish, have baby faces, love to sing, dance, listen to music, or watch a film. They're both adept at lies of omission and offered limited emotional support. They have 4 kids, after all. Natalie, the eldest, Nathaniel, the only son, me, and my baby sister, Tiffany. We watched movies together, ate all our meals together, and went to church most Sundays together. I remember sometimes my parents argued a lot. And when I asked my mom about it, she said, "Your dad is a Capricorn, and I'm a Gemini." Dad was the ballast to her hot air balloon. Their laughter was a regular sound throughout the house, and it made me feel safe and very happy to hear it. One evening, my dad brought home a disco album and played it loud enough that we could all hear it. Donna Summer's Once Upon a Time is perfect music for dancing, but also has trippy lyrics. My dad explained, Donna Summer was doing a lot of drugs when she made it. Of course, they didn't tell me about the racist and homophobic end of disco, or how many gay men were dying of AIDS. I remember learning in church about God's destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And from all the emphasis on virtue over vice, I learned the common practice of rejecting selfish pleasure. In Tulsa, we lived in a blue, 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath colonial house. All 4 McKnight kids were in gifted programs, and life in the 90s was good. My parents befriended the DePass family, and both of their sons attended Holland Hall, an Episcopalian private school. Holland Hall is looking to increase the diversity of its student body. You should look into it. Since education was so life-changing for my mother, she expected similar outcomes for her children. But Mom, I just made friends at Country Lane Elementary School. I don't want to leave. But Mom was on it, and we all tested in. Holland Hall's middle school uniform included middies, and hell yeah, I wanted to wear sailor shirts to school. I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan. So I agreed to attend because I wanted to wear a nautical uniform like Sailor Moon. But my private school experience took a different turn than the other McKnights. Holland Hall felt a little bit like Hogwarts before Harry Potter was a household name. The K-12 school sits on a 168-acre campus. There are 2 playgrounds, an athletic stadium, practice fields, and tennis courts. The modern architecture featured pale wood and high-beamed ceilings. The all-encompassing Walter Art Center had art shows, music classes, and performances. And there was the chapel where Mother McKenna, our queer albino chaplain, would give homilies that always ended with, "Peace be with you." Dad hated that my siblings and I went to this private school. Dolores, it's too expensive and so white. They should be going to a school where they can connect with their identity as Black Americans. Holland Hall is essentially the best school in the city. It's an investment into their future. Both my parents lived through Jim Crow segregation, and their schools weren't integrated until high school. In 7th grade, Jack Harfreeder called me a nigger in the hallway on the way to the bathroom. I didn't react in the moment. Neither did I react the time I got contact lenses when Alden Minor told me I was pretty for a Black girl. Come to think of it, I didn't respond when Josh Reynolds told me I looked like a monkey in 5th grade either. I knew replying was a waste of time. I didn't know the name of what was happening to me, but I was beginning to understanding my father's concerns. In the upper school, all students wore Oxford shirts, had a modular schedule, and all grades started each morning in their respective corners of the commons for morning meeting. The most drastic difference was that my best friends and I all had different classes. We could no longer look out for each other or fight each other's battles because we were separated by our differing academic paths. In the year 2000, my 4th school year at Holland Hall, things weren't going so well. Despite all the trips to Blockbuster Video and the fact that 9/11 hadn't happened yet, my chrysalis was built and disillusion was imminent. Daft Punk's single, One More Time, was everywhere, and my siblings and I loved it. It was French house music with an animated music video. We loved anime, back then we called it Japanimation, so we were instantly obsessed. I wrote numerous journal entries about classmates watching me and catcalling me, and I remember a classmate watching me as I went up a flight of stairs. Girl, you have a ghetto booty. That was definitely a microaggression. My friends and I were boy crazy and made a habit of getting to know new students and chit-chatting about our first impressions later on. One of those new students was Kent Dyer, a wisp of a boy with pierced ears who transferred in from rural Bixby. I'm pretty sure he was a pot smoker, but I hadn't encountered any at the time. He liked Daft Punk and Eurodance music just like I did. We both loved the Benga Boys. You know their most famous song. My brother bought the CD from Best Buy and I listened to it nonstop. Once Kent and I were discussing the Benga Boys. What's your favorite song off the album? Up and Down for sure. Do you know what that song's about? I didn't. It was Eurodance. I didn't consider a meaning beyond the beat. It's about sex, dummy. It was pretty creepy. He did this with his fingers to indicate two people having sex. One day in algebra, my freshman year, I was sitting behind him in a row of desk chairs when he reached to put his hand on the calf of my leg. He started moving it slowly up and down. I remember knowing that he was touching me, and I didn't protest. It was a protective fawn response. We've survived previous violations before. Just sit still and it will be over soon. You see, what he didn't know and what my mind repressed is that I'd already been molested when I was 4. So I thought I knew how to handle it. Like all those other uncomfortable moments, I said nothing. Maybe he thought I liked it. He started touching my legs in algebra and drawing class regularly. I watched it happen from somewhere outside of my body. I don't remember much else about it, but I know it was impactful because I wrote about it in my journal. No one would be surprised to learn that I failed that math class. I was dissolving. Looking for an alternate mode of expression after quitting drawing, some friends and I tried out for improv on a whim. Before the tryout started, the head of the club, Micah Fitzgerman Blue, asked me, "How are you so much hotter than your brother?" I ignored him and went along with the games. When it was over, I asked, I can think of you when I masturbate. Good one, bro. My best friend took my hand in hers and we walked out. I was a caged liquid, absorbing my classmates' projections. It would be another 15 years before I tried improv again. I was in this big annual arts festival as a dancer, and we had lots of evening rehearsals. One such rehearsal, my dad came to pick me up, but rehearsal ran late. So he came into the building to get me. The Thong Song by Cisco was very popular at the time, and while waiting for a cue in the wings with a Asian classmate, I overheard her saying the in slur while whispering the lyrics. When my dad showed up in his navy blue Carhartts, I was so ready to leave. Hello? Good evening. It's almost 9 o'clock and I'm here to pick up Melissa Grace. Oh, we're just finishing up. Unless you're willing to drive her to Broken Arrow, I'd rather she come with me now. I heard amused whispers from my classmates. I wanted the earth to open and swallow me whole. Melissa, you may go. I moved as fast as I could to the locker room bathroom. I peed, undressed, redressed, and gathered my things when Acacia Allen, the Nellie Olson to my Laura Ingalls, entered the locker room. Did you hear him? He was like, oh, well, I'm here to get Melissa Grace and Visions of violence and consequences flooded my head. I bolted out of the bathroom, threw my locker door shut, and got the fuck out of there. I managed not to cry until I was in the car. What's wrong, Melissa Grace? They were mimicking you in the car. They were mimicking you in the locker room, I mean. Melissa Grace, you know I don't care what some teenage girl thinks about me, and you shouldn't either. Junior year was my first year in the upper school without my brother. I was 16 and my periods intensified. Sometimes my cramps hurt so badly I would throw up. I was diagnosed with PMDD, which meant I had about 1 week per month of mental stability. I took geometry that year and had another shitty coach gallivanting as a teacher. Late that year, when it became clear I would fail his class, he said to me, McKnight, have you ever considered cheating? No, Coach Bennett, I fucking hadn't. I'd get home and just numb out watching TV or playing Nintendo 64. I wrote in my journal, I miss my big brother. I'm squandering my youth. Everything I eat tastes like ashes. My hair stopped growing, and crying alone in the bathroom was a regular occurrence. Before the end of the school year, Kent resurfaced in my life. We had English lecture together, and one day during a movie, when the lights went down in the lecture hall, I felt his hands up the hem of my pleated skirt. I picked up a stapler. Touch me again, and I will staple the shit out of you! He never touched me again. I failed geometry, and I was Caterpillar soup. I decided not to return to Hall & Hall to avoid a psychotic break. After enrolling in public school that summer, though, layers of stress evaporated into thin air the closer I got to the first day of school. My private school friends threw me a 17th birthday party, and we talked on the phone and saw movies together on the weekends. When a caterpillar digests itself in its chrysalis, cells called imaginal discs remain intact and use the protein-rich soup to form the emergent butterfly. Leaving Hall & Hall helped me accept my own metamorphosis. I wasn't constantly comparing myself to other students who thrived academically, though I did graduate with a 4.6 GPA my senior year. I'll never forget one day I was reading The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami when one of my classmates, staring mouth agape, asked me, "Are there No. I reemerged, a black butterfly, iridescent wings floating on the breeze.